Now, look at that picture there. But before you look at the picture, have given the topic of the presentation as negotiation and types of negotiation. So look at the picture on the right of the two people that are talking to each other. Find out what they are discussing, or imagine what they are discussing. Then we pick up from there. So take some 2 minutes, look at the picture, then try to understand what these people are doing. Now, in that photo on the right, have indicated that the two people are negotiating. The two are negotiating, and look at how they are listening to each other. One is talking, another one is listening. They are having writing materials. They are writing material that you can see. And look at even the dress code, how they are dressed. So dress code is also a key component of negotiation. You can see that these people are attentive. They are attentive when they're talking to each other from that presentation. So negotiation can involve just two people. It can also be a situation that involves many people. And we shall see those forms of negotiation as we move on with our lecture. So they are talking to each other at a close range. So when you are negotiating, you don't need to be a distance away from each other. So you don't need to have somebody meters some 5 meters, 3 meters away. So negotiation should be done when you are together, seated together, like what is happening in the photo, in that photo. So here we are going to define what is negotiation. By the end of the training, then the attendee should be able to define negotiation. So you define negotiation. So by the end of this session, then the key focus is to the definition of the term negotiation. Then you are also going to explain the types of negotiation and how these types are applicable to our day-to-day life. So you're going to explain the types of negotiation as we shall see. But let's begin with the definition, the definition of the term negotiation and see what it talks about. So to begin with, negotiation is backed in the fourth communication designed to reach an agreement while leaving the other side intact. So it's back and forth communication that is designed to reach an agreement by leaving the other side intact, positive. So it is easier to negotiate when the two sides or parties have shared interests and some opposed interests. So there should be shared interest, then there should be some form of opposition. So it's very important that in negotiation takes that form, you look at the shared interests and some opposition. So people who come to the table do not have the same issue. There might be some opposition between the two. That's why they're coming at the table to make a discussion and agree over something and disagree over other things. So there should be some opposition between the parties that have come to negotiate, and there should be shared interest for negotiation to be easier. So basically, it's an agreement that you want to reach over an issue that is affecting or facing you. So negotiation can be seen as soft and hard. So negotiation can be seen as soft and hard. When we say that negotiation is soft, what do we mean? Participants in this case are friends. The goal of negotiation is agreement. So if negotiation is soft, then the participants should be comrades. They should be allies. Allies. They should be friends. They should be people who are close to each other. Then the goal of this kind of negotiation is to reach an agreement. You want to broker an agreement between the two parties. Then we move on to something else. Straight on definition. Negotiation is a technique of discussing issues among oneself and reaching to a conclusion. Then you benefit all that are involved in the discussion. It's a technique of discussing issues among oneself and reaching to a conclusion to benefit all that are involved in the discussion. So it's one of the most best ways to avoid conflicts and tensions. So negotiation helps to avoid the conflicts and tensions. So you discuss issues among oneself and reach for conclusion, benefit all that the discussion. So majorly, negotiation is not about benefiting one party or one group. Negotiation is about benefiting all individuals that are taking part in the process of negotiation. So whenever individuals do not agree with each other, they sit together, discuss issues on an open forum, negotiate with each other, and they come to an alternative which satisfies all. So whenever you disagree with each other, you need to the people normally sit together. They sit together. They discuss issues in an open forum, negotiate with each other, and they come to an alternative which satisfies all the people involved. Then in a layman's language, negotiation is also termed as bargaining. In a layman's language, negotiation is also viewed as bargaining. You are bargaining over something. So I think you all must have gone to a shop or to a supermarket or any place that is selling commodities that need to be negotiated, to be bargained. So sometimes when you go to shops or you go to the market, there are second-hand clothing, form of clothing, there are second-hand forms of a dress, attire that need to be bargained. So you bargain for it, you bargain and reach an agreement. So bargaining has to do with somebody saying a certain figure, then another one gives a different or opposing figure. So two figures that are opposing are discussed. Then you reach an agreement whereby nobody is affected. So the seller does not get affected. The the person that is buying or the buyer does not get actually affected. So it's about bargaining. Now I want you to look at those photos. Look at those photos and what think about what you can learn about the two photos there. And then, so there is one on the left, another photo on the right. So look at the photos briefly, then we pick up again from there. Now, I hope you have interacted with that photo keenly. I've given you some time to do that because I know that photo, though both photos are just presented that way, then you can see from these photos we can learn a number of things. There are 10 or 8 things that you can learn from this photo. From the first photo, there are 3 people, and the skill that something that we can learn from this photo is that there is a clock on top. So there is a clock that is presented there, and this is a clock we are seeing. This is a clock that you are seeing there. Is a clock. So you can see that these people are using the clock like this one just to show that negotiation is about time, keeping time, not being in a hurry, not rushing to finish on early. So it's about time. That's why the clock is at the top of that room. So we have the issue of time management. Number 2, we have communication. They are communicating. We have said that negotiation is about communicating. So the issue of communication, and under communication, there you can see they are very attentive. That lady on the left is attentive. Then there is a smiling face from all the groups. There are also some writing materials there on the table. You can see some writing materials for writing, and for taking notes. So then in the other photo, you can see how these people are talking to each other. In fact, there is greeting. There is that part where somebody is greeting the other to build a relationship, to build a good relationship with somebody you are talking to. Somebody you are talking to. So there is that greeting to build a rapport. There's that cordial relationship from what you can see on their facial expressions. There's some good, maybe some sort of a good relationship that is built from the face. There's also some writing material. One is holding the writing material. So negotiation is about those things, and those are things that you can read from that, from those 2 photos. Those 2 photos are very key. They are very important, and I gave you some time so that you interact with the photos and get to understand what the photos talk about. Then I want us to move away from what is negotiation, because we have talked about negotiation as bargaining. Negotiation is about reaching an amicable solution. Negotiation is about communicating with each other so that you arrive at a solution. So let's look at this. Who is a negotiator? Who is a negotiator? Now, this is an individual that represents an organization or a position who listens to all the parties carefully and comes to a conclusion, which is willingly acceptable to all. So the person that represents an organization, not everybody represents an organization or negotiation. So that person that represents an organization or a position and listens to all the parties and comes to a conclusion is what we are referring as the negotiator. And this person should be impartial and neutral and should not favor any side. Should not favor any side. So you don't need or have to favor one side as opposed to the other. You need to understand the situation and the parties well and decide something which will benefit all. So you understand the situation, and the parties that are involved in the process, then you decide something which will benefit all the people involved. So sometimes it's not always that people accept the negotiators' decision. They may encounter it if they feel their personal interests are not satisfied. I mean, they may counter it. So sometimes the people on the table might counter that. If they're not satisfied, they might go against, they might say something contrary to what the negotiator said. So in such a situation where the negotiator is left with no choice, he must use his power to impose his idea. After all, one can't please everyone. So if you know that you are a negotiator and you are doing the right thing, then you can use all your powers to impose some ideas to people. But this one should be the last resort. So as a negotiator, you need to be very keen, you need to be very thorough in your negotiation skills so that you don't reach a point where you are pushing your decision to the groups or the people within that particular negotiating table. That should be the last resort. Now let's look at the types of negotiation. Types of negotiation. What are these types of negotiation that you have ever come across? There are a number of them, and we shall look at one after the other. We have what we call day-to-day negotiation at workplace. Day-to-day negotiation at the workplace. So, as the name suggests, every day we negotiate something or the other at the workplace with our superiors or with our fellow workers for the smooth flow of work. So each given day, we take part on a day-to-day negotiation to make something run smoothly or flow smoothly at the workplace. We can negotiate with our superiors or with our fellow workers, or superiors with the fellow workers at the workplace. So this kind of negotiation that takes place on a daily basis is called day-to-day negotiation. There's another example of negotiation that takes place in organizations, negotiation between employee and superior. So at the workplace, an employee has to negotiate with his superiors so that he is assigned the responsibilities as per his interests and specialization. So the employee takes the position of negotiating with his superiors or his employers to be assigned the responsibilities that are based on his or her skills and competences. Then sit with your boss and discuss things with him. So you ought to sit with the boss, then discuss those things with him. Let's suppose your boss wants you to prepare a report on branding and the marketing strategies of the organization. And the marketing was never your specialization. Do not just accept because your boss has told you to do so. You might make mistakes here and there. You need to question this. You need to ask for another maybe duty that you are conversant with. So negotiation is not about just accepting the role. Next is negotiation between colleagues. Negotiation between colleagues or people you are working with, people of the same category. So negotiation is essential among team members just to reduce the chances of disputes and conflicts. Then any particular team member should not be overburdened while the other member is relaxing. So that means that one should negotiate with his fellow workers and accept only those responsibilities he feels is best capable of doing. So you should negotiate with your fellow workers and accept those positions or responsibilities you are best capable of doing. So the responsibility of achieving the target should not rest on only one shoulder, but equally divided among all. So negotiate with your team members and accept their responsibilities willingly. So you negotiate with your team members, then you accept their responsibilities willingly. So you have seen there are different types of negotiation. From the beginning, we have talked about negotiation with your superiors, negotiation between colleagues, and we are moving on to something else. So we have what we call commercial negotiation. So this kind of negotiation are done in form of contract. So two parties sit face to face across the table, discuss issues between them, and come to conditions acceptable to both the parties. In such a cases, everything should be in black and white. The contract is signed by both the parties, and they both have to adhere to its terms and conditions. So a contract is signed by both the parties, then they have to adhere to the terms and conditions that are raised. So that's what we call commercial negotiation, commercial form of negotiation. Then we look at something else here again. So we have another negotiation that is called win-win model. So win, just from the word suggests, so we have two parties here that have come to negotiate. Two parties are on the table negotiating. So in win-win model of negotiation, then all the groups that are negotiating win. All the groups that are negotiating should win. So all the groups that are negotiating should thrive, should win. So in this kind of negotiation, on this model, each and every individual involved in negotiation wins. So every individual that takes part in the process of negotiation has to win. Nobody is at a loss in this model. Everyone is benefited out of the negotiation. So each and every person benefits. So in this kind of model of negotiation, each individual will have to benefit. Then this is the most accepted model of negotiation. So let's understand this model with the aid of an example. So we're going to have the example here. And Daniel wanted to buy a laptop, but it was an expensive model. He wanted to buy a laptop, but they are saying that it was an expensive one. He went to the outlet and negotiated with the shopkeeper to lower the price. So he went, visited the outlet, wanted the shopkeeper lower the price. Initially, the shopkeeper was reluctant, but after several rounds of discussions and persuasion, he quoted a price best suited to him as well as Daniel. So the shopkeeper quoted the price best suited to him and as well as Daniel, where Daniel can manage. Then Daniel was extremely satisfied as he could now purchase the laptop without burning a hole in his pocket, without spending a lot of money. So in this negotiation, then both the buyer and the seller benefited. So the negotiation is also benefited the store owner as he could earn his profits and also gained a loyal customer who could come again in the future. So both the parties won. The buyer suggested the price and Daniel had to give that money. So you can see these two parties agreed over that in the everybody went home as a winner of the deal. So then we have another kind of negotiation called win-lose model. Now, in this model or uh, this kind of negotiation, one party wins and the other loses. So one party wins and the other party loses. We are also going to give an example. So in this kind of model or negotiation, after several rounds of discussions and negotiations, one party benefits while the party remains, another party remains dissatisfied. So let's refer to the above example. Daniel again wanted to buy a laptop on win-win situation, win-win kind of negotiation. So in this example, both Daniel and the stock owner were benefited out of the deal. Let us suppose Daniel would not even afford the price quoted by the stock owner and request him to further lower the price. What do you think will happen? Daniel is not able to or cannot afford the price. What do you think will happen? Possibly there might be a loss on the part of the stock owner. So if the stock owner further lower the price, he will not be able to earn his profits. But Daniel will be a very happy man. Thus, after the negotiation, Daniel would be satisfied, but the shopkeeper wouldn't. In a win-lose model, both the two parties are not satisfied. Only one of the two walks away with the benefit. So they are not satisfied at the propositions, the argument, the haggling, but one leaves the negotiating table a happy person. Like in this case of Daniel, who came for the laptop for the second time, and they had to talk about lowering the price, and the price was lowered to the satisfaction of the seller. Now the other model is lose model, and we are going to use the same example of Daniel, lose model. Now, what do you think? What do you imagine happens here? Think about what is lose model. Then we shall look at what it means. We have talked about win-lose model, win-win model. So next we can talk about lose model. So think about it, then we shall pick up in a short while. So I think you have you have read and you have imagined about what this kind of negotiation means. So as the name suggests in this model, the outcome of negotiation is zero. The outcome, what comes out in this process is zero. No party is benefited out of this model. No group benefits. So had Daniel not purchased the laptop, neither he nor the store owner would have got it. So Daniel goes home without a laptop. The store owner has not told, he has not made a profit. So Daniel would return empty-handed, and the store owner would obviously not enter in this kind of negotiation. So in this model, generally the parties accept goods, so they don't accept others' views. And are reluctant to compromise. So there is reluctance in compromising. There are no discussions. Now, we are saying that no group or no person benefits out of. So remember, negotiation is not about only about the purchase of commodities in a shop or in a supermarket. It is not. That's not the basis of negotiation. Negotiation can also happen in different forms. So let's look at the or understand the above three models with an example from the corporate world. And we might got selected with a multinational firm of a good repute. He was called upon to negotiate a salary with the boss. So let's find out what happened here. So you see, negotiation can take place in say for example, a shop. People can negotiate on properties in a shop. There are those forms of negotiation that you can take in a shop, in a hardware, in a store that sells gadgets, computer gadgets, electronics, etc. But let's look at the corporate world here, what happens. So in this case, Sarah is the human resource head of the organization. Sarah is the human resource head of the organization. So we are going to give three cases. Case one, Sarah quoted a salary to Mike, but Mike was not too pleased with the figure. Mike wasn't pleased with the figure quoted by Sarah, the HR, or the human resource. He insisted to Sarah to raise the salary to the best extent possible. After discussion, Sarah came with a figure acceptable to Mike, and she immediately released his offer letter. Mike got his dream job, and Sarah could manage to offer Mike a salary well within the company's budgets. So this is a win-win situation. Both the parties have gained. So Mike proposed the salary to Sarah that Sarah talked about, discussed with Mike. Then after the discussion, Sarah gave Mike a letter, and that letter indicated that salary that Mike had requested. So if both parties do willing, then in this case, then that's a win-win situation on negotiation. So then let's look at case two. So Sarah, with her excellent negotiation skills, managed Mike and so she managed to convince Mike at a little lower salary than he had. So Mike wanted to start as it was his dream job, and he was trying for quite some time now. So Mike wanted to get profit of his dream, and with Sarah's good experience, was able to convince. He had to accept the offer than expected. of negotiation. Mike was not convinced. So this is a win-lose negotiation. So Sarah wins, then Mike lost. That's why it's called a win-lose negotiation. Then we have also case 3. Mike declined the offer as the salary quoted by Sarah. So Sarah did not need to negotiate. Then Sarah tried a level best to negotiate. Sarah tried a level best to negotiate with Mike, but of no use. So this is a lose-lose model of negotiation. Nobody, either Mike nor Sarah, gain anything out of this negotiation. Mike did not get a job. Sarah did not get somebody to employ. So you see those two areas. Sarah did not get somebody to employ. That place was vacant for some time. Then Mike did not get a job, his own job that he had wished to get. So when you look at those kinds of situation, then you will find out that those kind of situations happen in the corporate world. So you need to be very careful with this. So sometimes when you are negotiating for the salary, say for example you are working with a company, and there's a company that is paying you, say, they're paying you one, or take for example 500 USD. Then you apply for the job, then you are called for a job in another company. Then that company is offering 300 USD. So I don't think you will go for the 300 USD, then leave this current job of 500 USD. Even if it's you are arguing over this, you want to discuss the salary scales. Here, with 300 USD, then it should be win-lose situation or model. Win-lose situation used here. So the employer losses if it does not raise to 500 or so, then it should in fact be a lose-lose situation. You cannot accept 300 USD then leave that other job. So many times when you are arguing over salaries, then you need to be very careful on what you are going to get out of it. Find out ways of how you can better argue over the salaries to agree or disagree with the employer, the probable employers. So those are some of the cases of a negotiation. There are many other areas of negotiation. As you read the materials that you have sent in the on the platform, then you'll get to find out many other forms or ways of negotiation, how people negotiate for things, how people negotiate for the prices of commodities, how people negotiate for some benefits in the company, how people negotiate for issues in their day-to-day life. So it's very important that you master these issues keenly. Then you don't follow a victim of circumstances during the process. You don't lose every time you are at the negotiating table. So negotiation is a process those are some of the forms or case studies of negotiation that we have pointed at. So, and we don't have to move to other details here. We have given those as an example, So during the time you are reading, you get to find out many other examples of negotiation in your free time. So far, so good. We want to stop there for the moment. We shall take a break. Then we shall be back in a short while.